Welcome everyone to the worst idea I have ever thought of for a video on my channel. I am here getting prepared to start a run using only the Clawline, and I'm starting here because although it may shock you to learn, you cannot get the Clawline until you've gone through all of Act 1 and probably beaten Trobio and gotten down to the area where you can get Clawline. Now, in case you didn't know, because frankly, I rarely use the Clawline outside of platforming purposes, the Clawline has a decent combat capability. It does 2 hits every time you use it on an enemy. Each hit does half of your needle damage, so combined, it does the same damage as your needle for 1 hit. Not bad. You'll see there are many reasons why it is bad, not least of which is that even though it does the damage of my needle, which has been upgraded twice, it is much harder and slower to use, and it costs silk every time I want to use it. But let's not go into those details yet. We have to plan out the run before you get to see the pain that this run will cause. So because we had to start at the point of getting the Clawline, the main combat areas left are some of the final ones, Lace 2, Grandmother Silk, but before that, oh no, yes, we have to do the High Halls Arena. And we can't bind, as you can see right here. We are never going to be able to bind in any of our combat because just by using the Clawline, we will be using up silk to use it. And even upon hitting enemies, we will gain silk that will immediately be used again. So we're going to need all the help we can get. That's why I'm starting here in the Blasted Steppes. There is one tool that specifically increases the damage of your Clawline, but unfortunately, the Snitchfly up there has it. It's the Snitch Pick, and in order to get up here, I either need double jump or the Beast Crest charge attack. And getting the double jump would be simple. It would just be platforming sections, but because I want to put myself through as much pain as possible, I'm going to go through the path which requires combat. And that path is getting the charge attack for the Beast Crest. Yep, I'm going to go beat the Great Conchflies just so we can get a little appetizer, a little warm-up into the contents of this video, and hopefully they won't be too bad. They're some of the easiest bosses in the game. What could go wrong? The Clawline is not that bad. Listen, for this kind of boss, it's not going to be that bad. Alright, now let's cut to that. Okay, the fact that I've died to this boss at all does not bode well for the rest of this challenge, okay? Let me tell you, this boss is, in my opinion, the easiest boss in the entire game. Dying to the Great Conchflies is inexcusable. I am disappointed as a Silksong YouTuber to have died to them in any video. I could beat them in cursed form or with no weapons while naked. It would be way easier. And frankly, I shouldn't have died to them here, and that was just a mistake on my part. But this really shows you need to figure out the learning curve when it comes to adjusting to only using the Clawline. If you're like me, normally you love combat in Silksong or Hollow Knight because you just get to stand next to the enemy and spam the attack button, and then you get to dodge when they do their telegraphed little attacks, but otherwise, attacking is simple. When you go with the Clawline as your only means of attack, attacking is no longer simple. You have a limited amount of attacks you can do at a time. Because each attack causes 1 bar of your silk bar to go away, you have to wait before it comes back if you whiff it. And even if you do hit it, you're going to be going towards the thing that you sent the Clawline after, which means you can deal with everyone's favorite type of damage, contact damage. Damage that's extremely common in this game, by which I mean I don't know if there's any enemies that don't damage you by having their bodies push up against yours. So that's the danger of Clawline, is your attacking needs to be a lot more active, when normally you can just spam that needle, or you can spam your skills or spam your tools and pretty much have the game play itself while you focus on dodging. Here, you've got to focus on your attacks and your dodges much more seriously. Now, that on its own wouldn't be that big of a deal, except for the thing I mentioned earlier. You will never be able to heal, except for off of the cocoon you leave behind on death, and that is even a one-time heal. And as I've been talking, I've killed the Great Conch Flies because, like I said, they're extremely easy a boss to defeat, and frankly, the fact that I died at all makes me very worried about what's upcoming. Now let's get our charge attack. Now, before I get the snitch pick, I'm going to do a quick interlude where I farm up the 740 rosary beads you need to use it. And before I get into the full run, let me just show off the difference in time between a kill with the needle and a kill with the Clawline. So that enemy I killed there, that Grand Reed, that took around 7 seconds, I believe, using just my needle. Everyone knows how you fight with your needle in this game. You just spam attacks, and eventually you win. So how long will it take to defeat the same Grand Reed using only my Clawline? I counted around 28 seconds, and you can compare that to your YouTube player if you like, dear viewer. Now, sure, part of that is a difference in luck for what attacks the Grand Reed is doing, and part of that is a skill issue for sure, but the Clawline's just not good, man, and I'm dreading having to go to the high halls after this, because that's where I'm going once I get the snitch pick. The snitch pick will improve this damage output slightly, granted, and that's why I'm farming this insane 740 rosary beads to buy it. Grindel is a terrible person, and I wish he did not exist to sell me these things. But yeah, I guess I'm going to continue this, and we'll see if the snitch pick does improve that kind of time in our combat. The time being long is terrible when you can't heal, by the way, because that means you have to survive longer and play better for longer without making mistakes. Oh boy. And using our newfound abilities and rosaries, we can finally come to Grindel and get the only real offensive improvement we can have for a Clawline only run, the snitch pick. The snitch pick causes our Clawline to deal a third tick of damage that does half a regular tick's damage, which means instead of doing 1 times our needle's normal damage, we will be dealing 1.25 times our needle's normal damage. And that's fairly substantial, no joke. This is a great upgrade for anyone who wants to implement their Clawline into combat. It is a blue tool though, so it is fighting for some other very good tools. But hey, now that we have this set up, it's time to go to High Halls, our next roadblock. Now listen, if you're ever going to attempt something like this, a very low damage build against the High Halls Arena, you need to take every advantage you can get. Which is why I'm coming to this room in High Halls and using only my Clawline as is written in the rules. I am going to the room that has all the Claw Maidens, and I'm just going to get rid of them from the fight. Because adding extra enemies to this fight, especially ones that take away your silk, is just not going to be fun for me. And I'd rather not have to deal with them. In case anyone watching hasn't seen it before, you can come into this secret room in High Halls, and by moving this, please ignore that cocoon, I definitely did not die trying this before. By moving this platform to the right here, you can jump up to that room, and by getting up there, normally with double jump, for me, with my cheese beast crest jump, you will be able to cut off the source of all Claw Maidens in the Citadel and essentially remove them from every fight. And we don't care about 99% of fights in the Citadel, we only care about this arena. And if you don't do this, they will 100% spawn in multiple waves of the arena. And we want to get rid of every individual enemy we can, because each one of them is going to be our own personal struggle for us to get through. But now that we set this up, it's time to go confront the beast. Alright, attempt number 1. Maybe we can get through it fine. Maybe this won't be a problem. I've got all my upgrades. I've got the fractured mask. I've got 6 masks. That's 1 more mask than I normally have in this, in any runs of my game, because I never get upgrades. What I don't have is a lot of practice fighting these guys, because I don't do speed runs of this game pretty often. It shouldn't be that bad, though. Yeah, look. First wave, easy. I just gotta be careful, because if I'm not careful, I'll run out of all my health and notice that I have absolutely no way to heal myself, unlike 99% of the runs that play this game. And you see, that's where the real problem comes in, because we have a lot of waves to make it through with no heals whatsoever, and all different enemies for each of them to learn. And yeah, at this point I continued this fight, learning more, making incremental progress for the next 5 hours. I'm not kidding. I thought maybe this wouldn't be that bad after I got enough preparations, and as you can see on screen, I got more preparations done because I realized it was impossible to do with the setup I had before. I just did not have enough HP. I got the crest upgraded because I found out that does improve your needle damage even if you are only using Clawline, because as you can see, that bar is building up. But at the end of the day, no matter what upgrades I got, and the amount of extra HP I got from the Plasmium File was invaluable. Please don't make a mistake about that. This was really just about learning how you can even fight when only using the Clawline. And really, I feel like this made it clear that you are absolutely not intended to ever do a run like this. Definitely not by Team Cherry. For most enemies, this kind of combat works fine, but as you're going to see later in this fight, Team Cherry did not design some of these enemies to react well to the Clawline. These guys and any enemies who parry are example number 1. You'll see me kind of being very patient with these guys, and not only because I wanted to preserve my HP, but if you hit them on their parry frame, like you just saw there, you will take damage. Even though you should get invincibility frames for a second when jumping into the enemies, for whatever reason, Team Cherry did not realize that when you use the Clawline on a parrying enemy, you are just gonna get hit by them with their contact damage. And also these guys, the Maestros. I took a lot of damage there. That was an above average fight with the Maestros. These enemies are 1000% not designed for the Clawline. They are nearly impossible to beat damageless with the Clawline, because you have to not only set up the perfect place to Clawline them, you have to make sure that the bounce after the Clawline doesn't knock you into one of his flies. And I got very lucky there. Beyond this, I used up my 1 heal in this fight, except for my Plasmium Files, of which I have 3, because I did not do a lot of upgrades to my size of my crafting kit. But, in case you are still wondering at this point, this is in fact the fight I won. This is after dozens and dozens of tries. Like I said, 5 hours worth of tries on this one gauntlet. Not even a boss fight, just a gauntlet of enemies. Way harder than any boss would ever be in this run. And yet, it's mandatory. So I just had to buck up. But I'm gonna come off of the post-commentary sadness and oh woe is me, because you know what? I did this for 5 hours for a reason, because I knew it was possible to beat it. And the longer and longer you get into this fight, the closer you are to the end. And I'm gonna show you what the end of this fight looks like, because while there is a bit of, you know, you get your adrenaline pumping through the fight, while you keep repeating the first few waves dozens and dozens of times to try and perfect them, that becomes second nature. It becomes less exciting. it only gets truly exciting when you know you have a chance to win. And believe you me, I did not think this was going to be the winning run at all at the time. I had been going at it 4 hours. I had thought this is impossible many times over. I had gotten close a couple times, and I had no reason to believe this was the run. But you're going to see what makes this run different right here, because this is the second to last wave coming in right now. It is another Maestro. If there were more waves with Maestro, I'll be fully honest, this would not be possible. These guys are the devil themselves. But I'm going to stop talking here and let you experience the intensity of the last wave of this fight pretty soon. Genuinely heart-stopping about half of that last phase. I got up out of my seat, pumped my fists in the air, and yelled after all of that was over. Because there could not be a more perfect finish than that entire last phase of that fight. And you know what? The rest of this run is a victory lap. A victory vap is what it is. Now let's go get our melody. And here we are with our instrument that we use for combat, not in the normal way, but only by throwing it at our enemies. We have earned this song more than I think I've ever earned this song in any playthrough before. So this song is for us. It's for you, Hornet, for making it through that entire gauntlet with nothing but your Clawline. And this run isn't over yet, you know. We've got we've got 2 more big bosses to go. And I can't imagine any of them bringing anything close that we need to overcome as that gauntlet. Hornet, you have essentially won. You've defeated your greatest adversaries. And so I'm going to tell you, at this point, I had not a single worry in my mind about Lace 2 or about Grandmother Silk. Because Lace 2 can be hard. It can be hard for a lot of people, I know. But I know that I've practiced that fight and Grandmother Silk way more than I've practiced the High Halls Arena. And I also know that because I've beaten the arena, I am now the greatest Clawline user in the world. So Lace, you don't stand a chance. And you're gonna see how true that was. This is my first attempt against Lace, and I think it speaks for itself in a lot of ways. Although, like I said before, the parrying is still kind of cheating. Avoid the parries when you're doing this run yourself, ladies and gentlemen. But in case you didn't notice previously, Lace got staggered extremely quickly, and because she's the first boss we've faced in this video with a real stagger value, this is the first time I learned this as well. When you're spamming the Clawline like I am, it counts each hit of the Clawline as one needle hit. And when you're hitting essentially at twice the rate of your normal needle with each hit, that means you're building up the stagger meter insanely fast. And the only... I keep falling for the parry is the one thing. The parry being completely broken kind of sucks. Yeah, because it's almost a guaranteed hit every time you use it. I think that's the only time I've gotten hit this entire fight is the parry. But other than that, especially if you've gone through the kind of cognitive and gameplay gauntlet I went through, then your skills will absolutely carry you over Lace. She gets dominated by you just staying on the ground and clawlining right into her over and over and over again. She gets staggered and staggered and staggered, and then she phase transitions, and then she just doesn't know how to handle it, where you barely even need to jump in this entire fight. You can be grounded for most of it, because you'll just go right over her after you use your clawline, and that's it. She's done. After 5 hours going through that gauntlet, Lace is nothing. She is just nothing. And I didn't expect to beat her in one attempt. But let me tell you, if you thought she or Grandmother Silk were going to be barriers after what I just went through, you've got another thing coming. So let's go beat up your mom now, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, we found it. The first run where Grandmother Silk is stronger than Lace. Nah, but let's get real for a second. Yes, I did die against Grandmother Silk. I died twice, actually. It's embarrassing, I know. But this fight, like Lace, so much fun. Clawline only. In fact, what I've learned, I think, from this video is that Clawline only is very specialized to a few bosses, and for all common enemies and a lot of other bosses in this game, absolutely horrendous. Worst thing you could ever do to yourself is playing Clawline only. But for this is incredible. I don't think I've touched the ground since I've started this fight. And this is like one of the greatest gameplay feelings I've ever gotten. Genuinely. It makes Grandmother Silk's fight so much more engaging. And slightly more difficult because you can't use your normal needle, but not that hard, just fun. It's a really fun fight. Maybe this is how Team Cherry designed Grandmother Silk, by only doing this. But yeah, that's what I got to say about Grandmother Silk. It is extremely fun doing Clawline only. What a turnaround this entire run is. From the first half of absolute misery and hell, where I genuinely wanted to quit at multiple points grinding that High Halls fight, to the extreme sensation of joy and just pride I got from winning that fight. And that carried over through the entire rest of the game. It carried directly to Lace. Everything I said to you in that section on Lace, those were my exact feelings when I got there and recorded that. I was on a high, and to carry that high over and absolutely throttle Lace was just, it was so much fun, man. This is just me gushing at this point about this is why Silksong and games like this are so good. This is why I love Dark Souls games. This is why I love Hollow Knight, the original game, because you get this feeling where you can put your own challenges on them. And even if you don't put your own challenges, you can just learn really hard fights, and after struggle and learning and just practice, you can get through them. And that's how I beat Grandmother Silk too. I say as if she was even a tenth of the difficulty of the gauntlet I had to go through. But learning her Clawline only was so much fun as well. I barely won. I just eked out a win there just by utilizing everything I had to my name. And because I did that, I have shown you can beat Hollow Knight Silksong, Clawline only. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this on Hollow Knight Silksong or maybe other games. I'm just here to share things I find interesting, challenges, glitches, anything. Hornet's gonna take over the world now. Have a good day, everyone.